I'm like, there was a scene where late in the play where Mary O'Brien, the wife of the man who's going to be hung, Jerry Dunn, big handsome guy. I still see him. We go to lunch once in a while. He's in prison. She comes to the prison, and there's a little light shining, and I have her stand in a certain spot. In rehearsal, I realized that the light would just hit the white kerchief on her head, and it was almost like with a very dark stage, and this woman standing all by herself in the middle of the stage, waiting to see her husband, and the light hitting the white thing. In my mind, in my little insane mind, it was like almost like a painting by who's one of those Dutch guys, you know. And I said to Nancy, see how she's standing? You can see the light reflecting off her white kerchief. Isn't it wonderful? And so that's, you know, that must have irritated the people. Well, what do I care? What do I care? I'm Lou Bisignani, right? A couple of minutes later, it's time for Jerry to face his final interrogation by the main judge, who was nasty, Don Rinkamp, another guy who had never been on stage before this play, but he did a nice job. I can't think of his name now. He passed away. But he put him in this play because he wanted to come to rehearsal, and I said, yeah, go up there with the book and just read this part. It's not that big a part. And he loved it. After that, he was in many plays. And Tony LaRusso, who also passed away. Tony was the father of the girl who could fly. In the very beginning, the girl was so, she didn't really fly. Everybody said they saw her fly. That's what the witch thing was all about. And Jerry is going to be asked to admit that he has seen the devil. And he's very well respected in the community. And they figure, because a lot of people are they've already hung like 14 people. This is a real thing. This really happened in Salem back in the day, 1600s. And they know that they're getting not feedback, they're getting resistance to this crusade of accusative statements leading to hangings if you didn't confess. And so if he would confess that he saw the devil, then the cities would say, well, he was a really great guy. I mean, he saw the devil. It must be true. But he would never lie. He's a wonderful guy. So Jerry's standing there, and the three of them are like, all right, Mr. Proctor, you can save your life by admitting that you have seen the devil. So, have you ever seen the devil in your life? And Jerry's answer in the book, if you have a script, is yes. And they would go, yay! See, he saw the devil. But Jerry, for some reason, was a little off that night. And he said, no. And I went, you know, I'm waiting for this wonderful, this is the end of the play. This is like, you know, we're 3 hours into this goddamn thing. And I couldn't, I turned to Nancy and I said, well, he's supposed to say yes. And she says, well, yeah, of course he does. Because I had discussed the play with her. And so now the three guys stop. And they look at him. Mr. Proctor, we're going to ask you one more time. Have you ever seen the devil in your life? And Jerry now is, no. He got really good no. Not just a weak, piddling no, but a no, because he knew what he was doing. They were all wrong for some reason in his mind. You know, these things happen on stage. Happened to me plenty of times. And when he did that the second time, I was, by heart, I had to do this to keep it from coming out of my chest. And I jumped up, walked over Nancy into the aisle, went out the back door of the little theater, and it was a brick building with brick walls. And I started hitting my head against the brick wall, but not very hard. I'm not stupid. Nuts, but I'm not stupid. But I mean, I was like, oh my God, because the play's over now. Now we're stuck. If you don't get hung, oof, forget it. Go home. It's a comedy. And after about a minute or two, Nancy comes out into the hallway where I am, and she says, you can come back now. He confessed. So I go back in and we sit down quietly again, and Jerry has finally, you know, said yes, he saw the devil. Doesn't matter how the play continues. That's what he's supposed to say, and a little bit more. There's more action, but everything else is okay after that. but it was like 6 weeks of or what more of rehearsal and sewing costumes and Debbie running off on me with the last minute and solving problem after and having to take my shoes apart to put the pants on a guy. There was so much going on in this play that I couldn't believe it. I mean, for it to go down the toilet like that, it didn't go down the toilet. It was saved. Next night, this is the end of the story. If you're still wake up there, next night, the entire play goes smoothly, no problems, and we come to the scene where it's important for Proctor to confess, and the three judges are there, and you can see maybe the audience, a new audience, they didn't know what happened last night, but I knew, and I'm leaning forward in my seat now. It's like you're anticipating being in a car crash or something like that, and I'm watching him and I'm watching the three of them, and they're walking around behind him, and finally they say, "All right, Mr. Proctor, tell us, have you ever seen the devil in your life?" And he hesitated. And I'm like, don't do it again, Jerry, please. And all of a sudden he says, "Yes." Tony LaRusso acted in a lot of plays. I directed him, he directed me. We were friends over the years. His line at that moment, which is in the script, the one that he would say the night before had Jerry said yes instead of no, was, "Praise be to the Lord." Did you ever see the devil? Yes. Praise be to the Lord. That night, the next night, did you ever see the devil? Yes. He did, talk about projection on stage, he screamed that line, "Praise be to the Lord," with fervor and with you can just see it. I mean, the guy should have been a minister. He could have opened his own church. Because he was the three of them were so relieved, but Tony had the lines. So Tony let his relief hit the audience right in the face. In fact, the people in the front row got some spittle on them. Anyhow, it was a great experience. It's not the end of the story, because Carol Bucklaw and I continue this, but not tonight. You'll have to tune in next week to get the other end of this story. That's it for tonight.